Hey everybody, it's Mike from Here the Watchmen. Coming at you today from an undisclosed location in the mountains of Idaho with another man that's in an undisclosed location somewhere in California, out in the valley area there, about to go to another undisclosed location in Oklahoma. So we're gonna talk a little bit to none other than L.A. Marzulli. L.A., thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, great to be here, Mike. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
LA, of course, Jeannie and I were there with you when tragedy struck and your home in Malibu burned to the ground, and then you came back and your sister-in-law passed away and went to be with the Lord, and then you go to Oklahoma City. You're excited. You're looking at a beautiful new home there that you're going to be moving into, and then you get word that Peggy's mother and your mother-in-law passed away. How does a guy like you get through all that?
Well, we got word we were down in Oklahoma looking at the house, which is now in escrow. And we were, talking to painters and electricians and the inspection and all this other stuff that's just part of buying a house. I bought one house. That was the house in Malibu. That was 34 years ago. That was it. I've lived there forever. So we got word on Friday that Peg's mom had a massive stroke. So we were on the next plane that morning, on Saturday morning, and we flew in there and basically were on death watch. She never recovered from the stroke and was on morphine when we got there on Saturday early afternoon. She passed on Monday evening, probably around 5 o'clock in the evening, and I saw her take her last breath, which was very intense, and that was it. So the question is this, you know, most people, and I don't dwell on dying, I dwell on living and on doing the best I can. In fact, our mission statement is to expose the deception of the prince of the power of the air, i.e., Satan, and to herald the return of the King Jesus. That's what we do. A lot of people don't understand why we do what we do, but that's what we do. We're exposing the works of darkness, of deception, just like Russ does, but from another Russ does everything from another angle. Russ is in the underground. We're above the ground, coming down. So, you know, every one of us here, unless we're raptured, has a date, just like my sister-in-law and just like my mother-in-law. Everyone has a date with that moment where we leave this shell and we go. I'm not afraid of that. I'm afraid of pain. Who isn't afraid of pain? But I'm not afraid of it because I know where I'm going. It's just a doorway. It's all it is. It's like walking from this room into the kitchen, except when I open the door to eternity, it's a whole different kitchen than
Yeah,
anything we've ever.
it's a better kitchen.
And that's our hope. Is as Paul says, if there is no resurrection, then we're the most miserable of men and women because we're believing in some ridiculous fable which doesn't exist, and we're patterning our lives on something which doesn't exist. But we know this is how we know that we know that we know. And the Greek word for that is genosko. We know by experience, genosko. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, but at any rate, it's know by experience. And when we're born again and spirit filled, the spirit of the living God comes into a man or woman and begins to change them. And yes, God talks to us. That's how it works. The spirit of a living God nudges us, pushes us, begins to teach us and instruct us in all things, just like Scripture tells us. So when this happens, that begins to change a man and a woman and molds us into the image of His Son and the image of Yeshua and the image of Jesus, and that's what's exciting. So for those out there who are listening and don't have a knowledge, if you think you know Him, Jesus, but you don't know Him, then you don't know Him. It's real simple, real straight ahead. And the way to know Him is you ask Him into your heart. You say, okay, I've done stuff in my life which stinks. I'm sorry for that. I'm a sinner, and forgive me. And realizing that He who was sent, Jesus, and when He hung on the cross and He shed His blood, that's the redemption for all mankind's sin. That's the center point of time. That's it. It's the center point of all reality. Before the cross, after the cross, and what's things to come. It all centers on that. And so that's how I get through all this. I've had my down days. About 2 weeks after the fire, I got really depressed. And going up to the site, in fact, I'm going up there today at 1 o'clock to meet with an engineer. We're trying to think if pulling a permit might increase the property value because we're selling the land. Because contrary to some of the naysayers that are out there, we are grossly underinsured. And what I mean by that, we were told when we had the insurance policy that, oh, you'll be able to rebuild for $250 a square foot. We just got a quote from the insurance company, okay, from their adjuster, not our adjuster, their adjuster. They're saying between $500 and $600 a square foot.
Oh,
Yeah, so to build my 2,000 square foot house, which is actually 1,700 square feet, but to build, let's round it up to 2,000 square feet at $500 a square foot, that's $1 million. I can't afford that. I can't afford the mortgage on that. It's over. We are sayonara. So we put money, and that's just the house. That's not the studio and the guest house that was there on the property. So there's no way we can rebuild, and we don't want to rebuild. I don't have 34 years of working with these hands to build again. And I can't do it. My body won't do it. So we're moving to Oklahoma, to an undisclosed location on the rolling prairies of Oklahoma. And we will be there. And I'm really excited about that. We're with Gary Stearman and Bob Ulrich. Not that we're part of Prophecy Watchers, but they're really good friends of ours. And there's a core group of people now. And we're just excited about plugging in and going on a new adventure. And the Lord has really provided. And I just want to take a moment and thank the people that have donated to us, because that's what's helping us move into the new house. And we just thank everyone who contributed. We really appreciate it.
well, I got to tell you, Ellie, your faith is outstanding. I do believe that you might want to consider changing your name to Job. It's just,
Doing that.
I just, I don't know, man.
Really here.
I just don't know how you got through it, but I know that you're a man of strong faith, like I am, and we seem to somehow, when we trust the Lord, walk through all of the things that we're faced with in life. Now let's transition because you're back in action. At the last conference that I was at with you, you were truly selling limited editions of your books because all you had left were the books you
We're
had
having a fire
with
sale,
you.
folks.
Yeah, so but now
Joe.
you got some new stuff going on, Ellie. You've got the UFO disclosure, the 70-year cover up, and I want to get this quote right. I can't read it because my glasses are not strong enough to see it off my computer here. But you've got that book out, and you're talking in your blog today about an interesting story which goes around a couple of men that. Why don't you tell the story? What talk to us a little bit about that?
This was in Pascagoula. I'm probably butchering that word, but that's where it was. 1973. These guys are out fishing on a dock, and this ship comes down. They see it. Next thing you know, flash, these beings are there, and then they're levitated into the belly of a ship. Classic abduction, and they're experimented on. And this one female entity comes up and communicates with this guy Parker telepathically, and basically says, "Don't be afraid." As she's inserting an implant up his nose. I mean, it's like they know exactly what they're doing. And then they're redeposited on the shores. They're both totally freaked out. They talk to the sheriff. They underwent examinations by trained medical professionals, and the medical professionals stated at the time, and do so in the book, although I haven't read it yet, but basically that the men did see something. They were absolutely highly traumatized. Something terrified them, and the question is, what was it? In other words, they weren't making something up to get publicity. In fact, both men didn't want any kind of notoriety until recently, and now they've gone on the record. Parker has got he's sort of incapacitated with medical issues, and so he wrote this book. And I haven't ordered it yet, but I will order it by day's end today, because I want to read his account. It's just part of what I do, and of course my library burned in the fire, which is just that's for me. That's the great loss, because I had thousands of books, underlined, highlighted, and you can't recreate that. So, but I'm ordering a couple of things every week and just slowly building it back up, because there's some books that I just have to have, like this one right here, the Book of Enoch by R.H. Charles,
There you go.
an absolute
There you
an absolute must read. So that just came in. Of course, my copy of Enoch was highlighted and highlighted again and notated and highlighted and notated with scroll things on the back of the book and post-its all the way through it. It's like,
But you'll learn something
that's
new this time around. Who knows? You'll see it from a new pair of glasses, let's say.
without all
And
the
by the way,
highlights.
I have a vast collection of your books and DVDs here. I'll loan them to you anytime you want.
Oh, gee, thanks.
But LA, it's interesting that, we dive into this subject, UFOs, the mounds, the Nephilim, uh, because, I mean, there are people that think guys like you and I walk around with tinfoil hats, and I'm sorry you lost your tinfoil hat in the fire.
I lost my tinfoil hat in the fire, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have to get you another one. So
We'll have to get a new one.
yeah, we'll have to get you a new one. But listen, I mean, people sometimes say, first of all, what is an alien? And the second thing they say is, what does this all have to do with Christians and the Bible? How do you respond to that?
It has everything to do with Christians in the Bible. Let me work backwards from there. It has absolutely everything to do with Christians in the Bible. And the problem is, and the reasons why most people don't understand is because they have no knowledge, no grasp of Genesis 3:15. Genesis 3:15, Jesus is there in the garden. The Adam and Eve have just blown it. And the dragon is there. Nakash, the shining one, is there. And Jesus basically gives the mandate, which sets up the rest of the biblical prophetic narrative. He states, your seed, your offspring, talking about the dragon, the serpent, will be at enmity, at war with the offspring of the woman. 2,000 or thousands of years later, the offspring of the woman manifested Messiah. That's Jesus. But 3 chapters later, the offspring of a dragon manifests into what we now know as the Nephilim. And the Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterwards. The book of Daniel states, which means that there's multiple incursions, in my opinion. In fact, I'm working on a very short book. It's already up to 12,000 words about what that passage means and how it works in with the book of Enoch and why Ham's wife was not tainted with the Nephilim gene, in my opinion. And I give chapter and verse and then reasons what really is going on here, which has been overlooked by every single Bible commentator. I've got a couple of them that have come close to it, but no one is given it like what the Lord gave to me one night. And I called up Gary Stearman. It was midnight his time, and we had an hour conversation about it because he had never heard it either. And I'm not that smart. Lord gave that to me, and so that's the nexus of the book. But we see the Nephilim that are rising, and then we get this very cryptic passage in Daniel, which I also elaborate on in the book, which will be out probably in the fall. And basically, we read, their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave to them. What the heck does that mean? Who is they? It can't be the seed of men will mingle with the seed of men. That doesn't make any sense. So who are we talking about? And they're speaking specifically about the latter days. See, so it's a seed war. From Genesis all the way up to the modern day, it's a seed war. What we're looking at, now I'll answer the first question. In my opinion, the Greys are automatons. The Greys are manufactured biological suits which will function in our dimension. And what that enables is a demon, which is a disembodied spirit of a Nephilim. This is a lot to digest. So the Nephilim were destroyed in the flood. They become the spirits which are earthbound, but they're part of the enemy's, the dragon's army. So in order for them to manifest, they have to inhabit something. We know that, in the proof text for it is when Jesus is casting out the demons from the man of Gadara. Who are you? Legion, for we are many. They have to inhabit something. So they say, don't send us to the abyss. It's not our time. That's a 3-hour conversation. I talked about this in the Cosmic Chess Match. How do they know it's not their time? What a ridiculous statement. How do they know it's not their time? So they already know that they're defeated, but they know that this isn't the time because they've seen the future, but I digress. So they beg to go into the swine row into the ocean and drown themselves, with a lake, and drown themselves. So that is part of the biblical prophetic narrative. Demons need something to inhabit. We all know that. A man who is demon possessed allows that demon to come in. In satanic ritual abuse and those type of murders, they will kill someone and then allow the demons to manifest and possess them. And that's what every occultist and shaman does, which is freaking off the hook wacko. and it's definitely the dark side. So the grays are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, which now have a shell which has been manufactured for these demons to inhabit. Now, a lot of people can't get their heads around that, and I understand that, because in my opinion, they have a truncated view of the supernatural. What I mean by that is they think that, well, Satan is just a spirit being. There is no physicality. There is no technology. And yet we see right in the Bible that, of course, there's technology. When the New Jerusalem descends to the earth, how does that work? When in the prophet Ezekiel, when these angels are dispatched with slaughter weapons, what the heck is a slaughter weapon? When there's a flaming sword which goes and keeps people out of Eden, how does that work? There's technology here, and we don't understand that technology. So Satan, in my opinion, is a super scientist, and he biologically created these avatar bodies, which are the grays, which is why they move in a very automaton-like fashion, so that the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim can inhabit. The overlords are the watcher fallen angels, and there's a word that Russ Dizdar uses, metaschismato, and that means to be able to change shape and appear as anything that you wish, male, female, lizard, insectoid, and that's why we get these different so-called species. This is high strangeness. I get that. But what Christians don't understand, this is the coming great deception. This is what will change everything after disclosure. There'll be two words. It won't be BC before Christ and AD after his death. It won't be that anymore. It'll be BD before disclosure and AD after disclosure. They'll throw the Jesus of the Bible as we know it out the window. This will be the new center point of time, at least until he comes back. And then, of course, it will all change again. So before disclosure, the world is running the way it is. After disclosure, it's a game changer. The rapture is going to happen, in my opinion, before full disclosure happens. But guess what? There's 1.8 billion Christians on the planet, so-called Christians. How many of them are spirit-filled and born again? The words of Jesus states that unless a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of heaven. So if you go up to a person and say, hey, are you born again? Are you born again by the Spirit of a living God? Are you born from above by the Spirit of a living God? And they don't know what you're talking about. Guess what? They're not born from the Spirit of the living God. They're not. It's lip service. They may go to a Christian church, but if they're not indwelt and born again by the Spirit of a living God, there is no connection. It's all lip service. It's all rote. It's all up here and not in here. There's no connection. Those are not my words. Those are the words of the Bible and our founder himself, YESHUA, Jesus, the Messiah, the Anointed One.
Well, let me ask you briefly, it's fascinating stuff. I mean, when you and I sit down at the conferences and we talk to each other, I mean, it just blows my mind to learn some of this new stuff. And I, of course, was a witness to the famous Phoenix lights. I saw them. I mean,
Right.
I can tell you it was supernatural. But in your book, The UFO Disclosure, you talk about how the government has tried to keep a lid on all this. What are they so afraid of?
Well, War of the Worlds was like a litmus test to them, and this is like when Orson Welles did his show. Even though he said this is all a fictitious reading, people totally freaked out. So the government realized that, and when the Roswell crash happened, since then the playbook has been until very recently keep everything under wraps, deny, ridicule. There's a great show on the History Channel called Project Blue Book, which talks about the life of J. Allen Hynek. And it's an incredible expose because the government would go down to all these places where these flaps and crashes were happening, and they would manage everything and write some ridiculous story. It was a weather balloon. It was swamp gas. It was whatever they had to say to belay everyone's fears and calm the public. That's what they did. Well, since then, there's been a plethora of UFO films, of alien films, both good and bad, everything. It's like, in fact, in the book, I listed it, and people go, you're just taking the pages. No, there's a reason why I listed every film, because people need to see it. People need to turn the pages and read the titles and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So the bottom line is when Tucker Carlson, and this serves as a nexus to the book. This was the impetus. This was the starting point to that book, UFO Disclosure. I'm watching Tucker Carlson 2017, and Tucker gets on and he has this guy, Commander David Fravor, and Fravor is an F-18 pilot, and Fravor captures the UFO footage with this tic tac shaped object, like a white tic tac that you would see. In other words, a typical disc craft. And he photographs it. It's on film. It's on radar. And this thing speeds away like a bullet out of a gun. His words, not mine. And Tucker asked him, well, what do you think this thing was? And he says, it's not of this world. Now, that's on primetime Tucker Carlson. That is soft disclosure. And that's why I wrote the book, to try to wake up the church. But the church is so ambivalent with this stuff. It's like, just like you said, well, why as a Christian do I need to know all this? Because it's coming down, dude. It's coming down. It's coming down like white on rice. It's on steroids. It's like a freight train on steroids with no conductor, and it's speeding up as it goes on. We are quickly approaching some sort of a climax point here, very quickly.
Yeah, well, the book is fascinating, folks. You can go right over to LA's. You go to his blog and link to it there. It's fascinating. LA, your work is fascinating. So what you want to do is go to lamarzulli.wordpress.com. Again,
Read the article.
lamarzulli.wordpress.com. And go there, and as soon as you land on the page, you can see that book, and you can see some other books. You can read his blog, fascinating blog every day. But not only can you get all that good stuff, but if you go there or go to his website, I'm pretty sure you will find a discount code that you can use to purchase tickets to come listen, see, and spend time with L.A. Marzulli and his lovely wife, Peggy. Put your arms around them, hug them back into the church, love them, get there and be with them. Just go to hearthewatchmen.com. Get your tickets today. It's March 28th is registration and fellowship. March 29th to the 31st.
Here before you know.
It's right around the corner, LA. I mean, for you and me, it's going to be
it's
here like we're going to wake up tomorrow and go, oh my gosh, it's time to go to Dallas, So get out there. LA, I mean, briefly, because we're running out of time here, but briefly, talk to us. Why do you think people should come to a Hear the Watchman conference? What makes it different than any other conference?
Well, what I love about Hear the Watchman is it's a mixed bag. And some people would critique that. But what's great about that is you get a lot of different perspectives from a lot of different researchers. So we might not all agree on everything, but there's been fellowship, and we've learned to, not throw stones, but to listen to the other side, as it were, and go, well, you've got a point. I don't necessarily believe in that, but I respect your belief in that particular thing. But the one thing that binds Hear the Watchmen together is all the speakers have a personal relationship with the risen Savior. That's the first thing. And all the speakers love Jesus with all of our heart, mind, soul, and body. And that's the cementing, that is the cement. That's what holds the whole thing together.
Amen, brother. Thank you for that. And we are certainly looking forward to having you there and having you talk about, you always bring something new. So we're looking forward to it. And God bless you and Peggy. Our prayers are always with you guys. And we're just looking forward to seeing you. And we are thoroughly excited about this new chapter in your life, probably far more than you are, because we don't have to do the footwork to get there. But
we're counting the days. It's 18 days before we leave. We're in countdown. Wow. And we are absolutely excited about it. We really are.
Awesome. Well, listen, God bless you. Thanks for spending time with us today. We really appreciate it. Now, listen, folks, get busy. Again, lamarzulli.wordpress.com. Get over there, get busy. Find that discount code to save yourselves $20 off a ticket to Hear the Watchman Dallas. And remember, as I always say, there's nothing you can't do with Jesus in your heart, except nothing at all. You need to get out, activate, and be a part of the remnant body of Christ. God bless each and every one of you. We'll see you next time here on the Watchman's Report. Perfect.
There you go.
All right, man. I certainly appreciate it. That's for sure.
That was good.
I'll
stuff.
when I get it all put together, I got to interview someone else here in 15 minutes. But when I get it all put together, I'll shoot you over a link to it. Every
The
little,
other thing you can do, did you sign up for Apple Care when you bought the computer?
I don't think.
Uh,
Can I buy it
well,
now?
they always ask you, do you
Did
want to
you
sign up
sign
for
up for
Apple Care?
Apple Care? Oh, we'll have to check our receipt. We bought it online through Amazon,
Uh,
but we bought it from
well,
Apple, right?
you can call Apple Care and sign up for it over the phone.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I use it all the time with Final Cut Pro and other stuff. They're incredible.
Oh, so you just call them up and they'll walk you through it?
Absolutely.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Wow. All right. Well, listen, knock 'em dead this weekend in Oregon.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah. All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
God bless you guys. Take care.
All right. God bless.
Bye bye.